How's it going, everybody? Too spooky here. So not too long ago, Tekken 101 tagged me in this new tag or trend going around called the One Piece Pirate Crew tag, which by now most of you have probably heard about it because it's been spreading around like crazy. But for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's essentially where you are the captain of a One Piece crew, and you get to pick your own crew of various One Piece characters to create your own ideal crew to help you become the king of the pirates. Before we get started, I'm quickly going to go over the exact rules so that we're all on the same page. So it starts out with, you're the captain of your own pirate crew in the One Piece world. What is your devil fruit, if you have one, and what role would you play on your crew besides captain? Pick a total of 12 One Piece characters, 6 fighters, and 6 support characters, and form a crew that you believe could handle the new world and help you become the king of the pirates. You cannot have any Yonko, past or present, on your crew. So Kaido, Big Mom, Blackbeard, Shanks, and Whitebeard are all off limits. As far as I know and from what I've seen, you are also able to pick characters who are deceased, like Ace for instance, along with non-canon characters. So now that you know the rules, before we actually move on to my choices, I feel I should also say that the rules are a little bit vague when it comes to the Yonko, because there are a lot of characters who I personally believe are around Yonko level, like Goldie Roger, maybe Silver's Rayleigh, and a few others who I feel would just be unfair to place on my crew due to their level of power. So personally, I won't be including those. And when I was going over all the different characters in One Piece, I thought about some other factors that I feel are really important to really make this crew great. For instance, on your crew, you would need many different skill sets to actually sail the seas in the first place, like a navigator and a shipwright for instance. Otherwise, you'll never even make it off the first beach. And you also can't exactly just stack your crew with powerful devil fruit users, because if your ship goes down, everyone is going to drown if there isn't someone who's able to swim and save you. And finally, I feel it's also important that everyone's personality on this crew is at least somewhat compatible. Because if you have some douchebags on your crew, you're just gonna have a bad time, and end up causing unnecessary conflict among other crew members. So I made sure to keep all of these aspects in mind when putting together what I believe is the ultimate One Piece crew, and the crew that I believe would make me the Pirate King. To start with myself, the captain of this crew, I would like to think that I would have some decent knowledge of all 3 types of hockey, because to truly become the king of the pirates, there's no doubt that I'm going to be a conqueror. In terms of a devil fruit, I thought of a really overpowered one, but I felt it was just too overpowered, so I decided to give myself a different one instead, which is a water logia. Now many people would say that this devil fruit is overpowered by itself, which I definitely agree that it is, but not to the same extent that most others think. I think of it like this: seawater and the water that I generate would essentially be 2 separate entities or substances, so it's not like I can just immobilize any devil fruit user by surrounding them in water. I would like to think that they would still be able to swim within the water that I generate, rather than just sinking and drowning because the person in question is a devil fruit user and therefore cannot swim. It would just be too unfair of an advantage if that were the case. That being said, having a water logia would have so many advantages, which is why I chose it. For instance, I would be able to save myself from falling into the sea by propelling my water on top of the seawater. I could surf along my water or propel the water behind me for faster speed, and be able to take out many of my enemies through various techniques. For instance, I could surround my enemies in water and attempt to drown them like I stated earlier. I could force this water down their throat to drown them, and use high pressured water to deliver massive damage among other things. Also, this fruit would be the natural weakness to the Mera Mera no Mi, the Suna Suna no Mi, and perhaps even the Magu Magu no Mi. So right off the bat, I would also have a great natural advantage against other powerful fighters. Now, according to the rules of this tag, the captain is also allowed to have a separate job or skill aside from just being the captain, and my job or skill would be navigation, because really the best option for a navigator would be Nami, and although Nami has a lot of redeeming qualities, there were also a lot of reasons why I didn't want want Nami on this crew. So instead of moving forward without a good navigator, I decided to give that duty to myself. Next up, let's go over my 6 fighters, because honestly my support characters are the real necessities of this crew, so I'm going to save them for last. So the first fighter I chose was the Pirate Empress herself, Boa Hancock. To me, Boa Hancock is a very well-rounded fighter with a lot of great influence behind her to back it up. Physically, she's strong enough to break through stone with a single kick, and take out very powerful enemies like the Pacifista with almost no effort. In terms of Haki, she is able to use both Conqueror's Haki and Armament Haki, so she already has an edge in that aspect. But the main reason I chose her is of course because of her Devil Fruit, which is the Mero Mero no Mi. To put it simply, this Devil Fruit allows her to transform anyone with impure or dirty thoughts into stone through various short and long-range techniques. And considering that many people consider Boa Hancock the most beautiful woman in the One Piece world, I'm willing to bet that at the very least 85% of the people she encounters will have these thoughts towards her. So essentially, around 85% of our enemies can be automatically neutralized. We've seen that she can do this at close range by physically hitting the person and turning them to stone, mid-range with her Mero Mero Mellow technique, and from afar with her Slave Arrow technique, which is very hard to dodge. So there's really no escaping her. So because Boa Hancock is able to essentially cleanse the battlefield with little to no effort, along with being strong enough by herself to hold her own against powerful foes, I believe she would make a great addition to my crew. The second fighter I chose was Roronoa Zorro. I was originally going to pick Mihawk because he is the greatest swordsman in the world, but I felt that Mihawk is more of a lone wolf, and he wouldn't really fit in with a crew like mine. So instead, I decided to go with the future greatest swordsman, Zorro. Considering that Zorro is also one of my favorite characters, I just couldn't pass him up. But Zorro is definitely one of the physically strongest characters in the series. I mean, have you seen the weights he lifts? Holy shit. His swordsmanship, along with all of the techniques that come along with it, are virtually unmatched. And he also possesses armament and observation haki to increase his strength and perception. Another reason I wanted to have Zorro on the crew, there's gonna be quite a few Devil Fruit users on my crew. So we do need a couple non-Devil Fruit users to jump in the water and save us if shit goes down. Overall, Zorro is a very well-rounded and powerful fighter who could give almost anyone a run for their money. The only downfall of Zorro would be the fact that he does get lost all the time, which could end up being a problem, but I actually have a solution for this which we will discuss later. The third fighter I chose was Marco the Phoenix. Now, I raved on and on about Marco in my top 10 strongest One Piece characters video, but to give a quick recap, Marco himself is overall just your above average fighter in terms of physical abilities, and we haven't seen too much when it comes to his use of haki. So at first glance, he doesn't really seem like he's too special. But the thing that makes Marco one of the strongest and most useful characters in One Piece is his Devil Fruit, which is a mythical Zoan type Devil Fruit that allows him to transform into a phoenix. The most amazing thing about this fruit is the fact that it grants Marco abilities of seemingly every type of Devil Fruit. He gets a strength boost, the ability to fly and transform into a phoenix like a Zoan, the ability to allow objects like bullets to pass through him like a Logia, and the ability to regenerate any wounds like a Paramecia, making this one of, if not the most versatile Devil Fruit to date. And with that kind of ability on my crew, it would be very difficult for anyone to go up against us, because not only can he fly over enemies and pick them off one by one through aerial attacks, but any injury he receives can quickly heal good as new, making him a real force to be reckoned with. The fourth fighter I chose was Jin BAE. I feel like for this One Piece tag, it's kind of hard not to pick Jin BAE. Like I said earlier, we do need some non-Devil Fruit users to help save the Devil Fruit users if we go under. But on top of that, Jin BAE is more useful in the sea. He can breathe underwater, travel faster, and even fight better in the water. But even on top of that, Jin BAE is just an insanely powerful fighter on his own. He is without a doubt the most powerful fishman we've seen so far in terms of physical strength, but his most notable quality is his skill with Fishman Karate, which can do some massive damage to anyone he strikes. and even do some serious damage to people without even needing to touch them. Additionally, he also has the ability to use armament haki, which is just an addition to his already great strength. So Jin BAE is overall a very strong fighter who I think would make a great addition to the fighters we already have. The fifth fighter I chose was Bartolomeo Kuma. Now, I should clarify. I would preferably like to have him on my crew in between his original and cybernetic phase. So basically when he is part cyborg, but also when he still has his mind in control and is able to think independently. Now there are many reasons why I chose him. The first being his cybernetic abilities or enhancements. This not only makes him much stronger and much faster, but it also gives him a big boost in terms of durability, being able to tank a lot more hits than he originally could with his regular body. For instance, when he was guarding the 1000 Sunny, he did so for 2 years without moving from that very spot, taking damage from enemies likely day after day, with no repairs or anything. So Kuma is essentially going to be our damage tank along with Marco. But it doesn't even stop there. He can also fire huge laser beams from his mouth, which can not only blow shit up, but also melt steel, giving him a powerful long-ranged attack method that is very hard to dodge or escape from. These laser beams are also apparently modeled after Kizuru's Devil Fruit ability, if that gives you any idea of what these are capable of. So yeah, Kuma is an unstoppable cyborg badass. However, we aren't done yet, because Kuma also has one of the best Devil Fruit abilities to date, which is the Nikyu Nikyu no Mi. This Devil Fruit allows him to essentially push anything with his paw hands to send them flying away at extreme speed. This can be used for virtually anything, from people, the air itself, and I don't know, even pain and fatigue out of a person's body. So basically, Kuma can send anything, and I mean anything, flying at you at extreme speeds, along with deflecting any attacks that touch his paws. And Kuma can even compress the air itself to create a gigantic explosion. His Devil Fruit is not only an amazing defense, but also an unstoppable offense. Additionally, because he can push out our pain and fatigue, if for some reason any of us ever get really fucked up, Kuma can basically take all the pain away while we heal up, and even help us regain our energy if we are weak. And the final reason I chose Kuma was because of his great knowledge of geography, which will not only help us with navigation, but if we need to separate our crew for different missions or something along those lines, Kuma can easily push us to any exact location in the world through a paw bubble over the course of 3 days and 3 nights without any harm. So with Kuma, we can travel to any place in the world so long as he is knowledgeable with that area. So Kuma is overall just a useful addition to this crew as both a fighter, and he even has such useful techniques for support purposes, making him such a great addition overall. Now the final fighter I chose was Kizuru, which this one is a little bit controversial, but I feel that if Kizuru would be willing to join the crew, he would be a really good fit. He has a very interesting personality, which would definitely make things interesting. He has previous knowledge of the Marines to help give us the inside scoop. He is a monster in terms of physical strength. He has the ability to use haki, but to what extent we are unsure. And his Devil Fruit, the Pika Pika no Mi, not only gives him extremely destructive power, but it also allows him to be the fastest man in the world, being able to travel as fast as the speed of light. And because he is a Logia, he can also let non-haki attacks pass right through him for additional defense. Now between both Kizuru and Kuma, we could basically just snipe out anyone in the near vicinity with explosive lasers before they even knew what hit them. So overall, Kizuru is just an insanely powerful fighter with an insanely useful Devil Fruit ability, and his speed could also help us take out the enemy before they even knew what hit them. Next up is my 6 support characters, the first being Trafalgar Law. Now, I believe Law and Kuma could both easily be swapped out in terms of support and fighters, because they are both excellent fighters with support-like abilities. But in Law's case, his main use on my crew is being the doctor, although he can definitely fight. Not only does he have a great amount of medical knowledge, but his Devil Fruit is also made for medical purposes, even though it can also be used for various other things, Like I said earlier, you need certain skill sets on your crew to truly survive at sea, let alone become king of the pirates. And one of those necessities is a doctor to heal our injuries. And considering Law is the most powerful doctor we know of right now, he is definitely the obvious choice. The second support I chose was Nico Robin. This one is also probably pretty obvious, but to become the Pirate King, you need to have someone on your crew who is able to read the poneglyphs. And considering Robin is the last known person able to do so, she's a key member in this scenario. I suppose I could have chosen Robin's mother since we are able to choose deceased characters, but also with Robin's useful Devil Fruit ability, she is the obvious choice. She can be useful for combat, for stealth, for information gathering, and just so much more. So having Robin on this crew is kind of a given, which is why she's here. The third support I chose was Frankie. I almost decided to choose Caesar Clown or Vegapunk for this position, but I'm a huge fan of Frankie, and I have a great deal of faith in his ability, so I decided to go with him instead. There are a number of reasons why Frankie is an important member of this crew, but it mainly stems from the fact that he is a phenomenal shipwright, and would be able to not only build us a fantastic ship, but also repair it on the regular. Frankie is also very smart even if he doesn't appear so, and has gained a lot of knowledge when it comes to cybernetics and inventing things. So Frankie would also be able to provide us with some powerful weapons and gadgets for most situations. Frankie would also be very helpful in repairing Kuma if Kuma were to ever get damaged. And remember earlier how I said I had a solution for Zorro getting lost? Well, my solution would be having Frankie invent some sort of tracking device we can place on Zorro, so we can go scoop him up whenever he wanders off. Frankie is also a pretty decent fighter with many tricks up his sleeve, and since he is also not a Devil Fruit user, he could also be a great help in saving the Devil Fruit users in a bad situation. He's also a very funny guy, so he could help bring some light to the crew. Overall, he's a very important and necessary member. The fourth support I chose was Bartolomeo. Now Bartolomeo's primary job on this crew is to be our shield. His Devil Fruit, the Bari Bari no Mi, allows him to create an indestructible shield of varying shapes and sizes for both offensive and mainly defensive purposes. He would also be a great addition to the fighters, but his main use on my crew would be protecting us with his shield whenever shit hits the fan, along with protecting the ship from projectiles of any kind by putting up his shield in certain areas around it whenever these projectiles are heading towards us. So essentially, Bartolomeo is our protection. The fifth support member I chose was Viola. Viola herself never really showed us what she was capable of in terms of physical abilities, but she was an assassin under Doflamingo, so we can assume she's somewhat versatile when it comes to combat. Otherwise, she doesn't really have too much going on for her as a fighter, which is why she's a support character. But her biggest and most useful feature is definitely her Devil Fruit ability, the Jiro Jiro no Mi, which grants her a number of different abilities. First off, she is able to see through anything, be it walls, clothes, people, anything. So she can easily help us identify enemies who are hiding so we don't get ambushed. She is able to read people's minds, but only after touching the individual. So this could be used for interrogation or for information. She can create giant whales out of her teardrops that attack people, which is pretty scary and weird in all honesty. And finally, the ability that truly makes her unbelievably remarkable is her ability to release her sight in all directions. That covers over 4,000 kilometers or 2,485 miles in distance, being able to see anything anywhere within this large area. To put just how large of an area that actually is into perspective, the United States is 2,680 miles long from east to west. So Viola can essentially see anything anywhere within almost all of the United States in length, which is an absolutely crazy amount of area that she can see. So basically, Viola is going to be our eyes. Being able to survey such a large area will give us a huge edge for incoming threats tracking or trailing others from a distance, and even help out for navigation purposes. Another really cool thing I just thought of is that Viola could easily use her sight to look at poneglyphs from afar, and then Viola could use her memory transfer ability to relay the poneglyph's appearance back to Robin, who could then relay the information engraved on it back to the rest of the crew. Meaning a lot of times we might not even need to get our hands dirty trying to get a hold of these poneglyphs. So Viola is a very useful and important member of our crew, and one of the most important when it comes to reaching the goal of Pirate King. And the final support member I chose was Baby 5. Now, I know for a fact a lot of you are probably thinking that I'm crazy for picking Baby 5 over some of the characters that I didn't pick, but in my opinion, Baby 5 has a very underrated ability. Her devil fruit, the Buki Buki no Mi, allows her to transform any part of her body into any weapon that she wants. So right off the bat, without any additional information, we already have an infinite set of weapons at our disposal. But this fruit also has somewhat Logia-like abilities, although it is a paramecia, in the fact that if she were to transform into, let's say, a bomb or something, she would take absolutely no damage from that explosion while in weapon form. And after part of her is separated from her body as a projectile, after the projectile's purpose, it will quickly transform into some liquid form and travel back to Baby 5's body without any damage taking place. Meaning that while she's a weapon or in between weapon form, Baby 5 in theory cannot take any damage. But the main reason I chose her is because of all the possibilities with this fruit. Not only can she become any sort of firearm, but she could also, say, become a giant laser gun that shoots lasers like Kizuru. Meaning that Baby 5, Kizuru, Frankie, and Kuma could all shoot these massive energy beams all at once, creating mass chaos and destruction on the battlefield. And this devil fruit ability also makes Baby 5 our last resort, or our ace in the hole. Because if worse came to worse, and we needed to go out with a bang, or let our enemies go out with a bang, Baby 5 could, in theory, transform into a fucking nuclear bomb, or an atomic bomb, or anything of that sort. Now, I know that nuclear and atomic bombs aren't exactly a thing in One Piece, at least not yet, but we've seen that people like Caesar Clown have created different weapons of mass destruction or chemical weapons. So if we just described to Baby 5 what we wanted her to become, she could easily get the job done, and just erase our enemies from existence. Also, because Baby 5 wouldn't take any damage in weapon form, she wouldn't even get injured in the nuclear explosion. Meaning that with Baby 5, we could essentially control the sea through fear of what would happen if you ever crossed us. Making her the perfect support character in my opinion, supporting us with fear. Now, before I finish this up, I figured I should also give a quick honorable mention to a few characters who I almost chose. The first was Doflamingo, who would have been a fighter. Because Doflamingo is such a strong individual in every aspect, along with an awakened devil fruit ability, he almost made the cut, but his personality would just not work with my crew. The second was Gecko Moria, who would likely be support, but his main strength is definitely his underrated devil fruit ability to create an army essentially, but it just had too many weaknesses along with it, so I decided against it. And finally Bluno, who would have been a support, for his useful devil fruit ability where he can create a pocket realm or dimension with his doors. I figured this would be very useful for travel and stealth, but with Kuma and Viola, I ended up deciding against him as well. Now, quick recap. I'm the captain and navigator of this crew with a water logia. My fighters are Boa Hancock, Roronoa Zorro, Marco the Phoenix, Jin BAE, Bartolomeo Kuma, and Kizuru. And my support characters are Trafalgar Law as the Doctor, Nico Robin as the Poneglyph Reader / Archaeologist, Frankie as the Shipwright / Inventor, Bartolomeo as the Shield, Viola as our eyes, and Baby 5 as our weapon of mass destruction. With this crew, I feel like we could take down even the most deadly of enemies, and one day even become the king of the pirates. Also, you guys may be wondering,
Too spooky, where is the musician? Where is the cook?
Well, to answer that, for a musician, the crew is obligated to have a group singing session at least once a week to fill that issue. And honestly, we don't really need a cook. Yeah, it would be nice and all, but as long as a few of us know how to cook a few things halfway decent, we're gonna be just fine. But anyways, guys, that is my One Piece pirate crew. Special thanks to Tekken101 for tagging me in this. It was definitely a really fun video to make, and I love analyzing and comparing characters in terms of abilities, so this was overall just a really fun project. Now, in terms of who I'm going to tag, a lot of people have actually already been tagged. So if anyone I'm about to tag has already been tagged, I'm sorry. First up is All Day Anime. I think he could have some fun with this. Next up is The Anime Dude. He kinda hinted to me that he wanted to be tagged, so here you go, man. Next up after that is Kung Fu Toad. Not sure if he wants to do that, but you know what? You're getting tagged anyways. Next up is Flying Panda TV. Though I imagine he's likely already been tagged, but if not, well, here you go. And finally, I would like to tag Anime Balls Deep. I know they make some One Piece content from time to time, and I have a feeling they could have some fun with this as well. There will be links to all of their channels down below if you guys want to go check out their channels ahead of time so you can be prepared for their videos if they make one. But thank you all so much for watching this video today. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and maybe even hit that notification bell so you can be notified the second I upload a new video. Also, make sure to follow me on any of my social media, links in the description as always. Make sure to comment down below what you thought of my One Piece crew, and also comment what your crew would be. But anyways, guys, if you want some more of that too spooky content, well, make sure to click here for 10 facts about Brook. And if that's not doing it for you, well, make sure to click here for a little discussion / theory I did about Zorro and Sanji possibly awakening Conqueror's Haki. Anyways, guys, thank you all again, and I will see you all soon with a new video.